Can y'all train me? Tell me all the amazing things you did. It was just an awesome month for our entire company, and I'm so proud of you guys. And Emily, congratulations on Sapphire. That's incredible. I do believe that this is God ordained, though, so I believe there's a purpose in this training, even though in this moment it might not apply to you. It will in the future. And there are some of you, I think, that are going to resonate with this tonight, okay? So believe it or not, even after all of this huge success that you guys have had, I want to talk to you about failure, okay? And the way that we're going to approach it, is when you lean into that, you're going to have even more success, okay? So we're going to talk about the idea of failure tolerance and how you must increase it. Because if you want to make the month, I believe that if you do this thing that I'm about to talk about, then April is going to look like nothing compared to the potential and what you guys can do in May. Like, believe that. If your biggest month was adding 72 people or 28 people, if you lean into what I'm going to teach you, you're going to be going, oh my gosh, I went from 28 people to 100 people. Trust me, okay? So I want you guys to really lean into this, and I'm going to give you guys step by step, and I hope that you do it. Because we say that we want to earn an income with Plexus, or we say even, and this could apply to us with our health goals, okay? It could apply to us with ranking up. We say we want to feel better. You know, maybe it's we want to be a better parent. We want to be a better wife. We want to do more in our communities. We have all these things that we want to do. But you know what we want a lot of times is we want it to be easy. And see, last month, Plexus made it easy for us because they gave us not only the points on the welcome packs, which we've actually had for a few months, but they put the impact initiative, that stimulus bonus, on top of it, okay? And we have it easy again this month because we also have these incredible bonuses. So what I've seen happen is that what we want is, a lot of times we want the result and we want to be able to get the thing, which is that result, but we don't always necessarily want to go through the process, okay? We don't necessarily want to have to go through the work, because yes, you hit senior gold, but what's your long-term goal? Is your long-term goal emerald? Because if your long-term goal is emerald, then it's going to look a little bit different than working to senior gold, okay? So I want you guys to decide that you're going to overcome that mountain. You're going to climb that mountain. You're going to overcome that part of the brain, you know, that you're going to continue to evolve as you continue to work towards and strive towards your goal. You know, and I want you guys, it's like, we want the result, and sometimes we even think, and have y'all ever been guilty of this before? You think, man, I've been doing this for 2 years now, so I should be here. I've been doing this for, you know, or you think, well, I did what Genevieve said on the new ambassador training page, and I haven't seen the result that she said I should have, because maybe we think it's like time passing. We deserve something because a certain amount of time has passed, or we deserve something because maybe you reached out to 30 people this month, or you got, you know, 4 people in the 3-day challenge group that you guys are doing. But we never think that I want to achieve the result. I'm going to achieve the result by failing. And y'all, this is literally taught to us. We're literally taught to avoid failure. We're literally taught that if you're failing a class, it's better to drop it than to fail at it. And that if you get an F on a test, then that's the end, not the beginning. And that is a reflection in some way of who you are. And I want you guys to imagine if we've been raised differently, that when you get an F, then that's just the beginning. That's just the start. That just means there's more to learn. And we have to figure out what it is that we don't know. And if we were taught to overcome our failures and accumulate our failures and develop a tolerance for them, how much more would we be able to create in our lives had we been taught this? And so I want you guys, and again, you're coming off this month of incredible success and momentum, but don't you dare think for a second that you're not going to have that dip. This business is, y'all have seen that graphic, right? That goes around success. It looks like this, right? That's what success, do y'all know which one I'm talking about? Success never looks like this. Not for any of us does it look like this. And so if you're waiting for that like specific instruction, how to reach this next goal. You guys just remember there's nothing new under the sun. I'm looking at teams that were in massive momentum last month, and I'm going, oh my gosh, y'all are incredible. You know, what are you guys doing? And guess what? Everything that they're doing is everything that I did to get me to diamond. There's nothing new. But you have to figure out how to get it done with your circumstances and your excuses and your mindset. And the way that you figure that out is by doing it. And so I want to, if you know that your job and what you have to do is share with other humans about plexus, but you're having trouble doing that, or you know that you need to get duplication going, like we've got all these newbies, now what are we gonna do with them? We need to get duplication going on our team. We have to get people to silver. How do you figure out how to do that? Well, there are countless trainings on how to do that, and I'm not gonna necessarily waste your time on that today because there's plenty out there, but any true, you know, creativity, any true like big extraordinary ability that's going to come by learning from doing. You have to actually do it. You can watch 100 videos on duplication and how to get someone to silver, but until you actually get in there and mess up and get in a three-way chat and bomb with your person, or not be available when they need you, or whatever it is, you know, we're always failing in this business all the time. But it's start implementing the basics and using what's out there and get into activity. And so when you ask, like, how do I do something? How do I get the duplication going? How do I get these people to silver? And we tell you how to do that something, and you follow those steps and you succeed at doing it, but that's just the beginning. But ultimately, what I want most is to teach, and what I want most is that I want you to demonstrate that you're figuring this out, that you can figure anything out. And so you just have to go and do the thing and fail it. And if you increase your failure tolerance, because the higher your failure tolerance, the more successful you're going to be. Y'all, I have failed so much, so many times. I have failed people. Do you know how hard that is to sit back and be like, not only have I like messed something up or forgotten to do something or not done something well, but I have failed people that were depending on me to help them reach their goal. That is just a part of the process. But I want you guys to think, like, what is my tolerance for failure? How much bigger could this month be? How much more could I do if I wasn't afraid to fail? And when you fail, does it ignite you? Does it cause you to do more? Does it make you want to study harder and learn more and practice and try more things? Or does it send you into this like quitting, getting really nervous, backing off, complaining, making excuses? Or maybe you're the one that, like, when you hit a roadblock or you fail, you kind of avoid and you don't do anything so you can't fail. Because I know that some of you guys could be leaning into that. Emily could have leaned into it at the end of the month when she looked at her numbers and she thought, oh man, am I gonna give myself a heart attack for 72 hours? She could have been like, I'm not doing it because I'm afraid to not reach the goal. But she leaned into it and was willing to work hard to make it happen, or to fall short and learn from it so she could learn how to figure it out next month, okay? So if you guys were to grade yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you in terms of your failure tolerance? And, you know, maybe you're the person that's still deciding. Like, I'm still deciding what I want to do. I'm still deciding how I'm going to start using Instagram, even though we know that's where a ton of people are and they're having amazing success over there, and that's where you need to be too. Or I'm still deciding how I'm going to talk to my dream teamer. Listen, as long as you're deciding, you are avoiding. And when you're not taking action, you're not risking failure. You're avoiding failure, and your failure tolerance is low. So people with high failure tolerance are all in with the new things and the new experiences. You know, your team shifts and they start doing these 3-day challenge boxes, or your team shifts and they have a goal to get as many people to Impact Initiative as possible, or your team shifts and now all of a sudden there's this new Plexus Ambassador, you know, group for people to get the academy, for people to start learning. You know, you got to be willing to shift and start trying new things and doing those things and getting your people in there and duplicating the system. You guys are the ones that are learning the most and you're doing the most and you're accomplishing the most when you are leaning into those new things, okay? Lean into that new, amazing, fantastic, active product that is coming out. Like, be brainstorming and be strategic. Y'all, that product it's gonna sell out. I promise you, it will sell out. And if you're thinking that you're gonna use this Starfruit Guava Active to close the month strong and to get your 80 PVers to 100 PV, it's not gonna be there on the 28th of the month. I really don't think it is. So how about we start looking at who had 80 PV last month, and on the 11th of the month, when we have this new Starfruit Guava Active, we start doing the work and reaching out to them on the 11th. How amazing would that be? Okay, so you gotta be strategic in your thinking. If you guys never allow yourself to fail though, you're never gonna know your limits. So you got to push yourself to failure to know where your limit is on all the things and to know what you're capable of. Did y'all hear that? You have to push yourself to failure to know where your limit is on all the things, to know what you're capable of. If you set your goal too low and you hit it, you'll never know what could have been. You think Jesus Soto set a low goal last month with his 300 new ambassadors and 40 new silvers? No. So what could you have done? Because you never pushed yourself to that failing point. That boy probably was going for emerald. Truly. He was probably going for emerald last month and failed. Darn. You know, you think he's crying about that today? I don't think so. You think he's gonna be crying about that when that commission check hits? When he's hitting emerald this month? No, good for him for not saying, I hope I hit silver this month and I hope I can find my 3. Good for him for setting that big, hairy, audacious goal and looking and thinking, like, dreaming about what's possible and then chasing after it and running after it with every part of him. When you set a goal that you're most likely going to fail at doing, you will instead hit at the point that is your limit at the moment. And that's that big, hairy, audacious goal. Y'all, I used to talk about that all the time with my team. And you know what they did? They hushed me. They hushed me on the big, hairy, audacious goal. And they started saying, I need realistic goals. Because when I set those big goals and I miss them, I crumble and I feel like a failure and I give up. Well, shame on me for letting my team hush me and tell me to stop, challenging them to dream big and to chase after those goals. If you set that low goal, you don't risk doing anything, you'll never know what could have been. And the only way to find out what you could have been or can be is by pushing those limits, which means you gotta fail, you guys. And the reason that I'm really encouraging you to increase your failure tolerance is because I want you to recognize, first and foremost, that failure is harmless. It's harmless. The worst part of failure is it's an emotion. It's something that you feel. Emotions are harmless when you allow yourself to feel them. Just be willing to feel the feeling and recognize that it's harmless. I'm feeling like a failure right now. Okay, I'm feeling like a failure right now. I'm observing that and I'm releasing that. When you increase your failure tolerance, you immediately start doing more. Your motivation, your inspiration, your energy increases, sometimes 10 times, because sometimes we're defeated before we even start. And so we procrastinate and we avoid. We don't have any energy behind anything because we're so afraid of failing. But when we're willing to fail, when we want to fail, and when we want to learn from our failures, then all of a sudden we have tons of energy behind it. We want to do the thing, even if we fail, and we don't let that fear hold us back. So girl, you hit senior gold this month. I hope your goal is Ruby. Why not? Why not chase Ruby this month? Why not? So I want you guys to think about, on that scale of 1 to 10, where are you? Where are you on that scale of 1 to 10? You know, we spend a lot of time just intentionally trying to decrease it because it's how we were raised. It's what the world tells us. So I'm asking you to do the opposite. I want you to tolerate it. I want you to go out there and fall on your face and make the mistake and not hit your goal. I want you to miss the mark and try again and try again and try again and keep failing and increasing that failure tolerance. And what I want you to decrease is your stagnation tolerance. I don't even think that you can call not doing something, that's not even a fail. It's like a failure deserves more credit than that. You actually have to do something to fail. Otherwise, you're just failing ahead of time, which isn't even a legit fail. It's just a stagnation. And reality check, some of you guys watched all these people on your team hit massive goals last month, and you were just sitting there, just stagnant. Maybe some of you guys have been stagnant and you came out of it. Like you saw the potential and you were like, let's go. And maybe some of you guys are leaning towards it. So if you are at a 3 in terms of failure tolerance, increase it to a 10. What would you be willing to do if you were willing to fail more? What if your failure tolerance was a 10? What would you be doing different than you're doing now? Emily, that's the question I want you to ask your leaders. Like I want you to private message your leaders after this. And I want you to ask them, what if your failure tolerance is a 10? What would you be doing different than you're doing now? What would you be willing to do? And then watch your team continue into crazy, insane momentum when your leaders decide that they are going to lean into that. Okay? Now, we're not talking about being sloppy. I'm not talking about doing things just for the sake of doing them. I'm talking about planning, executing, paying attention to what you learn from them. So what would you be willing to do if you were a 10? And that's kind of, I'm trying to sell you guys on the idea that you should increase your failure tolerance here. But you got to know where you're at. So you got to know where you're wanting to go. And so some ways to do that, you guys, is recognizing that failure is just that emotion. And the first thing you're going to want to do is change what failure means. You got to separate you from your actions and your results. And this is kind of one of those like deep thinking, personal development things that I want you guys just to take a minute to consider. When you can separate yourself out, then failure is just information, right? You don't use it against yourself. You don't use it to criticize yourself, to put yourself down, to feel less worthy. You recognize that you are worthy and that failure and results, that's just data. That thoughts are just thoughts. Thoughts about failure are just thoughts about failure. They're completely independent from who you are. And so you approach your life where you're 100% worthy and you're unable to be harmed by emotions that are just like, vibrations and energy out there. And then all of a sudden you can see the world and the life for what it is. And it's actions that create different results. And some results will move you forward and some won't. And so you guys, the failing is what's going to move you forward. And a lot of people like to think about success as if success is the only thing that moves us forward. But that's not true. It's our attempts. That's what moves us forward. We learn by our attempts. We learn by our actions. Our actions move us forward, whether we get the result we want or not. We're moving forward. So if you find yourself in this place, like, I don't know what to do, I'm so confused, I need someone to tell me what to do, just remind yourself, all you need to do is find something that you can try. Try that thing. And if it works, keep doing it. And if it doesn't, it's a fail, fine, do something different. That's it. Do something. If it works, keep doing it. If it doesn't, try something different and try something different and try something different and then try something else that's different. Like, it's called massive action. And you try these different things in different ways until you get the results that you want, okay? So you guys are doing that. You're already doing that. And I'm so, so proud of you. When you're doing something and then you think like, oh, this process isn't working. Well, that's not true, because the whole process is to keep going until it's working. Do y'all see what I'm saying here? Like, well, I reached out to 20 people today and I used this verbiage and it didn't work. Okay. Well, the process is figure it out. Everything is figure outable, right? It is. So you just have to keep doing it long enough until you figure it out. And so I want you guys just to think about the number of fails that you purposely created for yourself over the last couple of months. When was the last time that you set an impossible goal and set up opportunities to fail, to increase your tolerance to failure, to increase your ability to not get the results you want, and to keep moving forward, because so many of us don't get the results we want and then we quit or we slow down. And we don't get the results that we want and we hide in shame because that's what we were taught to do. okay? But not this month. That is not what you guys are going to do this month. So I want you to be willing to do, do the best version of what you do know how to do in order to learn, and then keep doing that best version of what you know, even when you don't want to. Knowing that the reason why you don't want to is partly because you don't know if it's going to work, but that's how this works, right? So my goal for you guys is just to sign up for the big goals, for the journey that it requires, for the failure that it requires, for the strength that it requires, for the resilience it requires, because that is what grows us. And I'm always saying, let it be hard. It's supposed to be hard. The harder it is, the stronger you get. The easier it is to quit, the more proud you'll be when you don't quit and when you press on. Okay? So let's see. Yeah, I think that is the message that I wanted to share with you guys tonight, which I'm still kind of nervous because it was like, get out there, fail. But hopefully it resonated and connected with someone out there. I want to leave you with, how would your life change if you went out there and increased your failure tolerance? And you know what, you guys, if anything, do it for 30 days. Like, do it for the month of May. You don't have time. Like, you don't have time to mess with the head trash and the fear because you know what? This month we have points for welcome packs and we have the stimulus. And I don't think we're going to have the stimulus next month. I really don't. So press in, no time for the mess. Just go, run hard, run fast, and go in the month of May. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking now.
I feel like I've just been at church. That was amazing. Like everything that we needed to hear. Even if we've reached a place where we're so excited and so proud of, we will have failures. That is what life is. And I remember with my husband, when Tamara sent us her Diamond Doc and was wanting me to join the team, I remember sitting with him and saying, it's just too good to be true. There's no way that people are losing weight and buying getting Lexuses and buying their dream homes. There's no way that this is true. And I so appreciate that it isn't easy. I so appreciate that it is challenging, because that grows us and that grows our character. And it is hard, but it is so worth it. And I feel like you become more and more refined as you're seeing how hard it can be, but it is so worth it. I mean, what the heck, Melissa, you just brought the heat. I don't even know what else to say. Does anybody have any questions? Anybody have any questions at all for Melissa?
I would love, y'all, I'm a teacher, so questions make me happy.
Okay, I do.
Okay.
I am one of those people who failed last month. I went for Emerald, didn't get it.
Yay!
But it's so much, like, I feel like when I'm listening to all of this, it's like, I don't know, I'm still in like a very raw moment with it emotionally. And so I'm like, how can I was talking to Emily and she's like, okay, so we're going to go Emerald this month. And I was like, how can I claim that? How can I sit there and say, I'm going to be Emerald this month when obviously it didn't happen last month? Like, there's a lot more, I'm way more reserved now because it freaking sucked.
Yeah. So my question for you is, are you willing to get an F on the test 6 times before you end up with the B-? Because this is when life gets interesting, friend. If you only take the classes that you can get an A+ in, you're never going to ask anything of yourself that will require you to grow. And oh my gosh, girl, your emotions are 100% normal. Yes, of course you are feeling the way that you feel. I would be feeling the exact same way. It's not as easy as it said, but that's the goal, is to expose ourselves to this failure, expose ourselves to these new, look at it as an adventure, right? Like, I went for this and I failed. Now, God, what are we going to do this month? I'm just going to sit back. We're going to work hard. We're going to do the things. And what is going to happen? We have to be willing to, let's learn from last month. What was it? Did you run out of time? If you would have had one more day, would you have gotten there? So what did you learn? Maybe we learned we get started earlier. You know what I'm saying? Like, learn from it, because and know that you can't always be perfect. We can't always do the right things. We have to learn from it. We always want to be getting that A+, but you've got to change your brain. You really do. I mean, it's like personal development stuff that we're talking about, because when you do, that's when your life changes. That's when your thoughts change, and that's when you'll start feeling better. And it's just crazy. So this was for you. I hope that this message, like, really, that it gave you, like, okay, you're right where you need to be. You are right where you need to be.
Well, and I think too, a lot of times it's timing as well. So Hannah didn't say this, but her team, she grew by 400 points. Her team had over 100 ads, and her team is now saying, Lacey was just saying, okay, I'm not just going to go for Ruby. I'm going for senior Ruby. Liz, she's going for senior Ruby. So it's a timing thing too. Like, maybe your team wasn't at that place where they needed to be last month, but they are ready now. And you have paved the way for them, Hannah. And it will be such a beautiful thing when it does happen, because your team is behind you and they are also going to be celebrating huge wins. So I think a lot of it is timing too, because I don't think Hannah did anything differently than I would say that she needs to do different now. Like, she hit the ground running from day one. She was all in to the very last minute. So I think a lot of it is timing too.
Absolutely. 400 point growth, that's incredible. I mean, that is amazing. I'll tell you a secret. Y'all want to know a secret? There are diamonds that did not grow by 400 points last month. Mm-hmm.
Hannah's a diamond.
It's true. It is true. That's a big deal. I'm really proud. It's just, yeah. And that's where you just sit back and you're like, this is an adventure. You know what I mean? And it feels so defeating and it feels so exhausting, but that's part of the adventure. And you're going to be able to, you know, when you are a diamond and you have people running and they are missing emerald by a month, you're going to be able to be so empathetic, right? Like, I've been there. That's exactly where I was. It's like God is just orchestrating this beautiful journey for you. And so you feel the feelings, and then, girl, put those blinders on and let's get you to emerald this month. It's happening. I can't wait to see you on the jewels page. I can't wait.
Okay, we have like 1 minute left. Does anybody have any other questions for Mel? Kylie, were you trying to say something a minute ago?
Yeah, and I barely had service. I was just going to say, I think Brittany Alvarez can attest to it, because she said a few months ago she was like 15 points from senior gold and it just wasn't happening. And this last month she just blew it out of the water. So it was a matter of timing. And then I also am like a life lesson through sports, and nobody gets good overnight for anything. It's 1,000 repetitions before your body has muscle memory. And you don't play in a tournament and win every game. I mean, it's always like the underdogs, and they work their tails off, and then they go out and they prove it because they have heart. So it's like just that repetition and that drive to continue to push through, because you know that there's going to be naysayers. And even if you lose, you're going, cool, next tournament, we'll see you there. And it's just that another like competitive drive to keep moving in. So
I love that, Kylie. I love that.
And I'm in Boise.
Woo!
I just got here.
Yeah, I need to see you, sister. Okay, I love the heart of this team. Melissa, you absolutely brought it. It was exactly what we needed to hear. Thank you so much for taking time out of your night to pour into my team. We all are so, so grateful for you. Team, I love you. We will see you on Thursday night for the new ambassador training. You guys have a great night. Thank you, Mel.
Bye, everyone. Thanks, you guys.
Bye.